The mining boom has really blindsided Australia to perhaps one of the greatest revolutions that we've had in the history of economics in Australia, and that is what I call the services revolution. Australia, throughout the 2000s, has maintained its market share in global services delivery, despite the fact that every other developed country lost market share. That in itself is an amazing outcome, given that the value of the Australian dollar increased from 75 cents to $1.10. So here we have services struggling from a competitive perspective, yet maintaining international market share. Now, the issue that Australia has got is that through the mining boom, a number of unintended consequences really hurt the medium-term prospects for services in Australia. So I'll give you some examples. The price of housing increased dramatically. The implications of that are one of our main export services, which is international education, which depends on the effective delivery of housing for international students, became very expensive. So that is an example of one service that became more expensive. In fact, if we looked at the future forecasting, and there's been some wonderful analysis done by the Reserve Bank of Australia looking at the longer term impacts of the mining boom, and just to put this in perspective, the trade episode associated with the mining boom from 2006 to 2012 is the biggest trade episode in Australian history. That includes the gold rushes. That's how big it is. Now, when we look at the impacts, and we looked at the impacts on housing, the Reserve Bank thinks that those impacts will be retained until the mid-2020s. So our services will continue to struggle for another 7 or 8 years in a relatively uncompetitive environment.